Okay, get this. Imagine understanding what whales are actually saying. Like, not just the sounds, but their actual language.
It's wild, right?
It is. Like, what secrets could we uncover? It'd be straight out of a movie.
Well, with AI, it's closer than you think.
Really?
Mm.
We've all heard whale songs, but what if those are like complex conversations?
That's what researchers are trying to figure out. And you know what? It's turning out that whale sounds, especially from sperm whales, are way more intricate than anyone ever thought.
You know, I've read about sperm whales using those click patterns, the codas. Are those part of what you're talking about?
Totally. Codas are like the foundation of sperm whale communication. And the crazy thing is, these codas aren't random clicks.
So there's like a pattern to it.
Yeah, they've got rhythms, tempos, and even these extra clicks researchers are calling ornaments.
Ornaments, like they're adding a little something extra.
Exactly. And it's not just random. They seem to put these ornaments in specific places, like at the beginning or end of a coda.
So kind of like punctuation marks for whales.
It's a cool thought. And it makes you realize how complex their communication could be. It's a level of like planning and structure we're just starting to get.
So it's not just about each click, it's about how they all fit together.
Right. Think of it like trying to understand any language. You need the words, but also the grammar, the way sentences are built to get the whole idea.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how are scientists figuring this out? Are they making whale dictionaries or something?
Not quite. It's not that simple. But they are using high-tech stuff, especially artificial intelligence, to go through tons of whale sound recordings.
So AI is helping us break the whale code. That's pretty futuristic.
Oh, it is. These AI algorithms are finding patterns in the calls, breaking down those codas, and even making models of how whales might be putting those pieces together to, make meaning. It's like a superpowered whale linguist.
Wow. So AI is helping us cut through the noise and find the actual structure in these whale conversations.
You got it. And get this, AI is even helping us find tiny details in the sounds that we might have missed before. Like this thing called rubato. It's a subtle change in the timing of the clicks within a coda.
Huh. So like a change in emphasis or the rhythm?
Yeah. And what's wild is that whales seem to be able to control and copy this rubato. So it's not random, it's part of what they're saying.
Wait, hold on. You're saying whales are changing their clicks on purpose. What would that even mean?
That's the million-dollar question. Some researchers think rubato could be how whales show their emotions, or even their identity. Like, imagine knowing who's talking just from the tiny changes in their clicks.
Whoa, that's mind-blowing. So each whale has its own vocal signature.
Exactly. And that leads to another crazy area of research. Do whales have names? Like individual vocal signatures?
Okay, now that's getting really interesting. Whales calling each other by name. You got to tell me more about this.
Well, think about bottlenose dolphins. They have those signature whistles that are like names. It helps them track each other in their big groups. And there's more and more evidence that other whales, like belugas, might have something similar.
So are you saying belugas have names like Bob or Alice? How does that even work?
Not like they're yelling human names, but beluga babies seem to learn their contact calls from their mothers. And these calls are unique to each beluga. They use them their whole lives.
So it's less Bob and more like a special whistle just for that beluga.
Right. And remember, belugas have these complex societies. They're very social. It would make sense they'd have a way to identify each other, just like dolphins with those whistles.
This is all so fascinating. But I got to ask, how do we know those calls are really names? And what about other whales? Could they have something similar too?
Great questions. Honestly, we're just scratching the surface here, but it's clear that whale communication is way more complicated than anyone thought. And with AI, we're finally starting to crack the code.
This is mind-blowing. We've covered so much already, and I feel like we're just getting started.
You're right. There's so much more to explore.
Well, before we get too lost in all this amazing science, let's take a second to think about what we've learned. What are the big takeaways here?
I'd say the biggest one is whale communication is way more than simple calls. We're talking structured sounds, tiny changes in timing, maybe even names. It's a whole other level of talking that we're just beginning to get.
And AI being such a big part of this research, that's incredible. It's like we're right on the edge of a huge breakthrough in understanding whale language.
Exactly. AI is giving us the tools to, decode those whale secrets and unlock a whole new world of understanding about these amazing creatures.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far, but we're not done yet. Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll go even deeper into whale communication and see what these discoveries might mean for how we connect with these animals.
We'll be right back.
We're back, ready to keep exploring this whale communication stuff.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think, if we could really understand them, what would we learn about their lives, their social stuff, even how they see the world?
It's crazy. But before we go full sci-fi, there's something important we got to talk about. Conservation. How does all this research help protect whales?
You're right. It's not just about figuring out cool stuff. It's about using what we learn to help them.
Exactly. We were talking about AI identifying whales from their voices, right?
Right.
How does that help with conservation?
Okay, picture this. We could track individual whales over time, see where they go, how they interact, even how healthy they are, and all just from listening to them.
So instead of trying to spot them visually, which is super hard in the ocean, we could use their voices to get a way better picture of their lives.
Exactly. And that would be huge for conservation. We could figure out where they hang out the most, where they migrate, and places where human stuff might be putting them at risk, like shipping lanes or fishing zones.
So it's like giving them a voice in their own protection. We can understand what they need and do a better job of keeping them safe.
Exactly. And it's not just individuals either. Understanding how complex their communication is could help us see how they react to, noise pollution. That's a big problem for a lot of whales.
Yeah, that's a good point. We know all the noise from ships and sonar and stuff can mess with whales. But if we understand how they're communicating, maybe we can find ways to, tone it down.
You got it. It's about finding ways to live alongside them, respecting their needs and their environment, like being good neighbors.
I like that. We wouldn't want our neighbors blasting music all night, so why should whales have to deal with all our noise?
It's about changing how we see things, realizing we share the planet with other intelligent creatures, and they deserve our respect.
This is pretty inspiring. It feels like we could be entering a whole new relationship with whales. One built on understanding, not just, taking advantage of them or ignoring them.
It's a good vision, right? And it's driven by all these passionate researchers working hard to crack the code of whale communication.
Can't wait to see what they discover next. But hold on, before we jump ahead, let's think about the ethical side of all this. What about if we actually could talk to whales?
That's super important, and we shouldn't avoid it. I mean, if we can understand them, we have to use that knowledge responsibly.
Right, we got to be careful. We can't go into this thinking we're better than them or that it's okay to, control them or twist their communication. It's about listening and learning, engaging on their terms.
You're right. It's not about making them learn English or do tricks for us. It's about appreciating how smart and complex they are, not trying to make them fit into our limited understanding.
So no more forcing them to do stuff for our entertainment.
Exactly. It's about respecting their freedom and their way of life, even if it's totally different from ours.
You got it. It's about understanding that the best way to learn might be just watching and listening, not forcing our own ideas on them.
Perfectly said. It's about embracing the mystery and wonder, realizing we may never fully understand them. And that's okay.
It really is. This whole conversation has been eye-opening. It's not just about the science. It's about, what it means to understand another intelligent species, the big picture.
It makes you question what we think about intelligence, about communication, about just existing in the world.
It makes you realize our way isn't the only way. And there's so much we could learn from other species if we just pay attention.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the most exciting part of all, the cutting-edge research that's pushing the limits of what we know about how whales communicate.
I'm ready. Let's dive in. All right, we're back and ready to see what's happening at the forefront of whale communication research.
It's really amazing how much we've learned about these animals,
Yeah.
From just recording their songs to, using AI to break down their complex calls. It's pretty wild.
It is. Feels like we're on the verge of some big discoveries.
Well-
What's going on that's really pushing the boundaries?
Well, one area that's super interesting is the research on those sperm whale codas. Remember those? With the rhythms, tempos, and those ornament clicks.
Yeah. The ones that might be like punctuation, showing the start or end of a thought.
Right. Well, scientists are now using AI to look at those ornaments even closer. And they're finding that where those ornaments are and how often they happen can change depending on what the whales are, talking about.
Oh, interesting. So, we use different punctuation depending on if we're asking a question or making a statement or getting excited.
Exactly. It's like sperm whales are using those ornaments to add extra layers of meaning. It's like a whole secret language within their language.
That's incredible. We're peeling back the layers of an onion, finding more and more complexity with every discovery.
And here's another cool thing. Researchers have found that sperm whales in different areas have different dialects, kind of like how humans do.
Wait, really? So a sperm whale from the Pacific might sound different than one from the Atlantic.
Exactly. And it can even change within the same group of whales, depending on things like family groups or like social status.
Whoa, that's wild. So whale culture is way more diverse than we ever thought.
Absolutely. And it shows how important it is to study whale communication in all sorts of different places and groups to get the full picture.
It's like we're putting together a giant puzzle, and each new discovery is another piece.
And the more pieces we find, the more we realize how much we still don't know.
It's kind of humbling, isn't it? But exciting, too.
Definitely. It reminds us that we're just at the beginning of understanding all this.
This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to how amazing and complex whale communication is.
It's a field with so much potential.
Yeah.
And as AI and other technology keeps getting better, I think we'll make even more amazing discoveries in the years to come.
This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
It's been a pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And to all our listeners, if you enjoyed this deep dive as much as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what you think about the possibility of understanding whale language.
Who knows? Maybe one day we'll actually be able to have a conversation with these amazing creatures.
Until then, keep listening to those ocean whispers. They might hold secrets just waiting to be discovered.